Jonny Marray. I am now 39. I highlights of my tennis career: Wimbledon Doubles Champion, 2012, Davis Cup player on two occasions, I think 2004 and 2013. Career high doubles of 15, I think, and singles of about 215. And yeah, retired from playing about 3 years ago now. So I started playing when I was about 9 or 10. Didn't really come from didn't come from a tennis family at all. I was mainly grew up playing football, and still played a lot of football actually when I was playing tennis up until I was about 18. So my parents didn't have a massive clue about tennis or the development of a tennis player or anything like that. I just went to my local club and got interested in it, and kind of continued from there and got a bit more serious. Got start with some group lessons and then a few individual ones a week. And then I suppose when I was 14, 15, started taking it a lot more seriously, going to a lot of the local mainly local Yorkshire tournaments, Yorkshire and kind of area tournaments. And I never played any ITF, so I wasn't really, I wasn't one of the best juniors in my age growing up. I think I was probably playing qualifying of national age group tournaments, so the nationals. I don't think, I might have gotten to main draw once or twice, but I wasn't really near the top of my age group at all. And just I just love my tennis, and I think I was getting better and better as the years went on. And when I went to normal school, I didn't go to any kind of academy or anything like that. I just basically played in my local tennis tournament, and then got involved in the Yorkshire kind of county setup. Went to normal school, then decided to do my A-levels at my normal school as well. And then I suppose during that period, I decided I'd want to play full time after I finished my A-levels, basically. So that's just a decision I want to do. I suppose one of the main things, I didn't really know what, all my friends were going to university, and I'd done my A-levels. I wasn't very academic, and I wasn't really sure, what subject I'd do at university or anything like that. I didn't really have any pull in any direction to go to university. I remember after my GCSEs, my mum mentioned about going to sixth form that had a tennis program. I think there was one close by a school in Derbyshire, Repton, which is the closest one to me in Sheffield. And I remember I went there just to have a little look, and I don't know, I just didn't feel the whole school environment didn't kind of sit with me very well. It was, I don't know, it was very different to my schooling experience already. And to be honest with you, American uni wasn't really on my radar. I didn't really have much of an idea about it. I remember, I think maybe some people mentioned it, but I don't know. I didn't feel it was for me really. I didn't know much about it. I didn't really look into it too much. I just wanted to play. So for those kind of reasons, I just thought, right, I'll give it a year, I suppose, like a kind of gap year type thing. A lot of people do that after A-levels, see how it goes and see how far I can get really in that year, and if I improve and see where it goes from there. I didn't really have any grand plan. I was just, just that 1 year really I was focusing on. When I started playing full time, I suppose I was just playing the British Tour really, and then around that, training wise, I was kind of winging it a little bit. I didn't really have an academy or a base that I went to week in, week out. A lot of the time, some friends who are in the same situation playing full time would come up to Sheffield, and we'd train, stay with me, stay with my parents, and we'd train for a week and then go to the British Tour event, and then maybe we'd go to their place around their area for another bit of training. So, it was very ad hoc, kind of winging it. There wasn't much structure to it. I think and then I started going to Leeds University. I think that was my first kind of base, and I used to train with the uni lads there. up in Leeds. So that was my first, I suppose, kind of proper base. It's not like I was getting a lot of individual work done. I was just kind of joining in, you know. I just a bit of structured training. And then I suppose, yeah, I went on like that for a few years. And I actually, my first trip away to India when I was 18, that's when I first picked up my first ranking points, you know. So I qualified and actually won a tournament over there. So I kind of went from no ranking to about 750, I think it was at the time. And that enabled me to get into some more, you know, some futures and stuff like that. So I could actually, you know, I was on the board and I felt like I could win some matches. And then I suppose I did that for about a year and a half. And then Jim Edgar, actually, at Bolton Arena, Jim approached me. I know he's working with a guy called Justin Lane at the time, and Justin was doing really well. And I was around the same tournaments as him, the British Tours and the local and the futures. And he asked whether I'd like to come and train with those guys up in Bolton. And that was really that really kept me playing tennis, because up until that point, you know, I was, like I said, I was winging it a little bit, and I didn't really have much structure or direction. And being a part of Bolton and with Jim and the other guys, the environment that was created there was a proper kind of professional environment with strength and conditioning and a lot of guys, good players to kind of spar with and practice with. And obviously I was getting help, you know, consistently from Jim, and he kind of helped me, you know, kind of get my identity as a tennis player a little bit, and really, and I found I improved a lot in that space of time that I was there. You know, I went from, I can't remember what my ranking got up to with him, actually, probably into the 300s or something. And that was my first real big stride, I suppose, to the kind of next level. And then from there, I got invited to train with the LTA down at Queen's Club when I was probably about 23, 24. And for me at that time, I mean, I was really happy at Bolton, and I felt I was really progressing. But I suppose at that time, you know, if you're involved with the LTA setup, they offered to put us up in a flat down in London at a training base. Like when I was training in Bolton, staying in hotels, you know, with three guys in a room type thing, or staying in Sheffield, or I mean, Jim Edgar put us a lot of us up in his house, you know. So it was kind of you know, they offered a lot more in terms of opportunities, I suppose. You know, if you're involved in the national setup, you might be a bit more consideration for wild cards, I thought, and traveling coach, because Jim was based basically at Bolton Arena, so he couldn't travel week in, week out, whereas the LTA were offering a traveling coach. So I felt it was the next kind of level of support that would help me to kind of progress. So I kind of moved there from that. 627, when I'd actually had a shoulder injury. I had a bit of shoulder surgery, so I was out for about, well, the best part of a year, really. And I was actually at probably close to my best singles ranking at the time. And then when I came back after that, I struggled to get back up to where I was. And to be fair, I felt I'd pretty much maximized with my game style. It was pretty old school kind of singles game style. I think I'd got to a point where I didn't feel I could get to the top of the game with my singles. You know, it just wasn't good enough. And you know, I always had good doubles results. I always played doubles alongside my singles, but without really focusing on it. And I think Louis Caillet had come into the kind of British tennis, and he was working with Jamie, I think Colin Fleming at the time as well. And I'd done some work with him in the doubles. And yeah, I think I just saw how Jamie and Ross Hutchins as well, actually, how they started to really move up the rankings in the doubles and started to play the biggest tournaments, you know, and the best events. And I just felt I still was motivated to play, I mean, yeah, there were obviously times when I along the whole way when I was kind of second guessing whether or not to kind of carry on. I think every year it was a bit of a reassessment after every year, you know. But yeah, I'd obviously seen how these other British guys were making a living out of doubles now, and I thought, you know, I had a game that could kind of I could do all right in doubles. So I made that decision. I think about 27, and I'd made third round of Wimbledon with, was it with Hiltz or was it with Jamie Delgado? And that gave my ranking a good boost, you know. And obviously, like making a third round, that was a you know, a big step, you know, making third round of Wimbledon. You know, you win, you know, you're a decent doubles player. And I thought, and my singles ranking was tailing off, and my motivation for singles had gone. I think the realization that basically I wasn't good enough. So yeah, doubles was obviously a way for me to stay in the game and to hopefully play the big events, which was something I obviously wanted to do. I played Wimbledon a few times before that, obviously, but you know, I wanted to try and make a better living and also play a lot of the other bigger tournaments. So I thought doubles was obviously my way of doing that. So yeah, I think working alongside a lot of the other British doubles players and with Louis, you know, I was actually based now back in Sheffield, but I would use the NTC and get involved in the group training down the NTC. But back home, I haven't mentioned already, but you know, when I'm back home, I was always working with my brother. I was fortunate enough, my brother is a tennis coach, and throughout my whole career, he's been there, and he's been a great kind of well, I suppose facilitator of my whole career, really. So I always had someone to hit with when I was back. I always had someone to work with, and actually he would come away on certain trips with me as well along the way. So I was very fortunate to have that, and so I had a bit more of a settled base back home with him, and I had I had a few different doubles partners, and I think I basically I got my ranking up to about 75, and up until I suppose Wimbledon, I'd teetered around between, I don't know, 60 and 80 for a few years. And, you know, I was struggling to make that next kind of step. And then obviously, I suppose Wimbledon happened, and that gave us a massive kind of jump in the ranking. And that really opened the door to you know, the next, I suppose, stage of my career where I was able to, you know, compete at the biggest tournaments and play the proper tour, you know. So that was you know, that obviously winning Wimbledon was an amazing kind of feeling, amazing achievement, and a bit of, you know, it made everything worthwhile, you know, all the kind of the work that had gone before that, you know, because as all the tennis players know, there's a lot of ups and downs and soul searching, and when things aren't quite going the way you want them to go. So, so yeah, the Wimbledon, I suppose the summer of Wimbledon, I was actually playing with Dustin Brown. I'm sure most people know who Dustin Brown is, for the whole of the year leading up to Wimbledon, actually. And he told me, I think just after the French Open, that he was going to play Wimbledon with somebody else. You know, there was someone who's ranked a bit higher, so he thought he could maybe get seeded and things like that. So, I mean, we'd had a really good start to the year, and I was actually in a really good place with my game and feeling pretty confident because we'd had a lot of good results, and I was actually doing a lot of on the mental side of my game that year. I'd really committed to that kind of side of it, and that was making a big difference, you know, in my performance. So yeah, leading into summer, I was feeling great. Obviously, I was a bit disappointed not to be playing with Dustin because we'd had a good year up until then. And so basically, before the grass court tournaments, I didn't have a partner. So I just looked down the list of who was going to Nottingham is one of the warm-up events to Wimbledon, just the challenger actually. So I just went down the list and had a look at who I might feel like I want to play with, and I saw Freddie Nielsen I think he was going to go for qualifying or whatever. And I just gave him a text and said, "Oh, see you going to Nottingham. Do you fancy signing for doubles, things like that?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And I think we only just scraped into the draw in Nottingham, because I think Freddie hadn't played much doubles, so his ranking was a bit lower. Anyway, we had a really good week there. I think we made the final and lost in the super tie break in the final there. And I've known Freddie for years, and we get on really well off the court. And I felt our games matched up pretty well. And then so I kind of made I think I was the highest ranked Brit outside of the main draw. So Leon Smith actually told me that I could get a wild card with whoever I wanted to, basically, because I was first in line for one. Obviously with Wimbledon's green light from them, they have the final say in it and everything. So I asked Freddie to play, and he was obviously pumped for that and fired up for that, because he had never played at Wimbledon before. So we went there, pretty low expectations really, but both of us feeling pretty good about our games and played pretty well. And then I suppose who were we drawn against? Number 16 seeds, first round, the Spanish guys, Granola's Lopez. So straight off the bat, we were playing a tough team, and we ended up coming out in 5 sets in that one, which obviously gave us a lot of confidence. It was Freddie's first time, so I mean, it was a new experience for him as well. So he obviously did really well to kind of deal with that. I mean, he was obviously so excited about just playing there to begin with, And then, we had a pretty straightforward, actually. That was our only straightforward match. The second round, we won in straight sets against Karlovic and Frank Moser. And then third round, I remember we played another seed. It was Julian Roger and Sam Qureshi. So, I'd made the third round a few times before at Wimbledon. So this was the furthest I'd got to a few times now. So I think we went 2 sets up, and then they go back to 2 sets all. Excuse me. And we ended up winning like 7-5 in the 5th set. Really, really tight kind of match at the end, and a few crazy points at the end. But I think for me personally, getting over that hump of the third round was a massive kind of release for me, and just like, I've got further than I got to before. So that was great. And obviously into the quarterfinals at that stage as well. And I think the quarterfinals was the only match really I think we were maybe favourites for a little bit, or people were like, for a quarterfinal, it's a pretty good draw or whatever. But I mean, it was obviously every team you play, if it's a quarterfinal of Wimbledon's going to be a tough one. But again, we won that match in 5 sets. So we're scraping through. We're not scraping through, but we're coming through these. And every time you win a match, you get confidence. But coming through these, some tight moments in these matches really, I think, really helped us. And then semi-finals, excuse me, was against the Bryans. So obviously probably the most successful team in the history of doubles, I think. Anyway, but yeah, again, underdogs. But we kind of had nothing to lose. I remember being put on an outside court, so it wasn't like court 1 or centre court. So for us, maybe that helped us, I think, a little bit. I don't think there was Hawkeye actually, so I remember they were complaining a little bit the fact that there's no Hawkeye and we're on a small court for semi-finals and things like that. But so I think that annoyed them a little bit, but obviously maybe made us feel a bit more relaxed than we would have been on a big show court. And again, we just played a really solid match and won in 4 sets in the end. I remember the 4th set tiebreak, we were 5-love up, and they go back to 5-all. So it was kind of like, oh my God, this is going to go to 5 sets against these guys. And probably if we hadn't, who knows what happens anyway. But I remember Freddie came out with a beauty of a passing shot down the line, and then we ended up getting through that, obviously. And then the final, but getting a chance to play on centre court was pretty amazing kind of experience. And for me, that's the reason I kind of played, started tennis in the first place. That was that was my dream to kind of get the opportunity to play there. So yeah, I mean, it was obviously a pretty nerve-wracking. I think more nerve-wracking waiting for the ladies' finals on that day. So it was pretty nerve-wracking waiting for that to finish in the changing rooms and just being a bit like, just want to get out there. And I think it might have gone to 3 sets when it was. Anyway, there was a lot hanging around, but I think once I actually got out there and hit a few balls, I started to feel okay actually, because again, we played so much tennis in those last 2 weeks, and yeah, luckily we managed to kind of enjoy the experience, I think, which is the best thing about it. I wasn't going on, I think previously, if I'd the years before, Wimbledon was always such a big part of the year, and you'd build up your year to play at Wimbledon. You want to do so well, especially being a British player. And I think that year I really was in a mindset where I could enjoy the experience, enjoy playing and feel relaxed there. And I think that obviously made a massive difference. But yeah, and we won in 5 sets, and it was a bit up and down. And there's some, I think, again, 4th set, we were 2 sets to 1 up, tie break 5-2 in the 4th set up, 5-4 serving, and then we ended up losing that tie break 7-5, and that was a bit of a blow, obviously. But yeah, we just kept going and got through that final set. So yeah, amazing experience in front of the British crowd, and it got busier as the match went on, and it was great. I still had some great times, like we're playing World Tour finals. I remember I made the quarterfinals of the US Open with Colin, and yeah, I got to play all the top tournaments, Monte Carlo and Toronto, Cincinnati, Montreal, all these tournaments that I'd never been a part of. So that was a great experience, and I think I suppose I started to get quite a few injuries. I always had calf issues in my 30s, late 20s and 30s. So that was one thing that I always was a challenge to kind of manage. So I'd quite often have a calf tear or a calf niggle throughout the year. So that is frustrating, I suppose, all sports people when you're not able to put together, I don't know, months of playing, and really build week after week, month after month. I felt like I was starting to get a few more injuries. I know I had a problem with my elbow as well. And I think for that reason, and I was getting a bit older, obviously, slightly slower maybe, I didn't feel like I could really put a good run together and feel my best on court. And when I'm not physically feeling very good, I think a lot of my game is based around that kind of physicality a little bit. So I felt like I was going backwards a little bit in my game, and I'd stopped really enjoying the whole lifestyle as well. I think I just felt like it was becoming a bit of a grind, and I'd kind of, I suppose, the fact that I'd achieved the thing I most wanted to achieve in my tennis career might have also been a reason. I felt like I was kind of on my way down a little bit. So, planning wise, the end of my career, that, I don't think I went about it the best way. I was kind of always putting off, I'll deal with it when it comes type thing, and, I've had a few challenging times since stopping playing, really working out, really trying to figure out what I want to do now and where I kind of fit in. So I stopped. I retired. I actually retired. I got an injury. I hadn't really planned a date or anything like that. Like, I think in hindsight, I would have liked to put a date in mind and play up to that, and maybe enjoy the last few months of my career just without any pressure of anything, and just enjoying the fact of playing. But my ranking had dropped. I wasn't getting into many good tournaments, and I ended up re-injuring my calf, and I was kind of like, that, I've not got the energy to kind of go back. I'm not motivated to get back. So I kind of made the decision then. I mean, it had been in my mind for 6 months, a year anyway. And like I said before, I think after every year, I'm kind of reassessing where I am, how things are going. Am I making a living out of it? You know, because you've got to be up there, especially in singles and doubles, to be making a good living ranking wise. You've got to be playing the bigger tournaments. So that was obviously a consideration as well. So yeah, and then so I stopped playing, and I had a few months to kind of just get away from tennis a little bit and kind of have a bit of a think about it, totally away from tennis. And then, yeah, I suppose, you know, I had a lot of time to think, but I still wasn't sure, I suppose. So I just thought I'd try a lot of different jobs, still within tennis. And the LTA offered me a few different roles, kind of part-time roles, which is great. And I'm still doing some work, some weeks for them, obviously, at this period of time with the pandemic and everything. My work with them has been, obviously that's not happening, like any coaches or coaches' work's not happening. The tennis world isn't happening. So, and I was offered a job out in Hong Kong to do a bit of coaching out in Hong Kong for a few months of the year. So that was something I've done now, and I'm actually out here speaking to you from Hong Kong. So yeah, I'm learning a lot of things as I go. How to, you know, coaching. I'm doing a coaching course as well. I'm in the middle of my SPC coaching course with the LTA. I've done a few kind of tennis holidays where I've been on them and kind of helped with them, which I enjoyed. I worked on the main tour for a year after I retired on the doubles tour with Henry Continent and John Peers. So that was a great experience. They're one of the top doubles players in the world at the time, and the top team. So I went. Yeah, I was with them for a year. But that's something you know, it was pretty similar to what I was doing, you know, traveling around the main tour, traveling week after week. And that's something I kind of wanted to get away from. Now I've stopped playing. So I gave it a go, and I now know that's not something that I really want to get into. So yeah, I'm still kind of exploring different opportunities and seeing where it's going, really. Whatever you do, like you've discussed and we've discussed, there's different paths into tennis, you know. And at the end of the day, it's down to you. Obviously, being around a great environment is very important. But at the end of the day, I think you've got to take ownership of your own tennis, and the sooner you do that, the kind of better. And it doesn't matter where you go if you are not involved in it and working hard day in, day out, wherever you are, you're not going to improve, and you're not going to be the best you can be, I suppose. So yeah, I would just say focus on your development, always on your development. Forget about results. Well, obviously not totally forget about results, but results really don't matter at that kind of age. I don't know, 14, 15, 16. Just continue working and getting better at tennis, you know, getting better, being a more skillful tennis player, working on all parts of your game, and yeah, your development basically, and you'll improve, you'll continue to improve and get where you kind of deserve to be, I suppose, at the end of it.